Hey guys, insight number 2, we're in Jonah 2, and I've entitled this one, It's All in God's Hands, or Christ's hands, because it all is. Even whatever decision you're going to make has like this much influence on their plan, like tiny amount, and they've already prepared for it anyway, knowing what decisions you're going to make. And if you start deep diving into that, your brain's going to go boom. So you just got to trust it, and we'll get to that too. But in chapter 2 of Jonah, now this is written in like a poetic reflection type way, because this is when he's swallowed by the fish. Now he's in there, and he cries out, in verse 2 he says, I cried out because of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me out of the belly of hell. So it's like very like doomsday type, like I'm in the valley of hell. No, you're just inside a fish, you're fine. It could be pretty scary. I'm not saying it's not, but to Jonah it seemed like terrible. He was very dramatic. So I said this is exaggerated to get the effect across, so keep that in mind too. For thou hast cast me into the deep, this is verse 3, in the midst of the seas, and the floods encompassed me about, and the billows of the waves passed over me. And then I said, I'm cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple. So he's got faith still. It's just not, he's not engaging it as such yet. He has faith, he's just not engaging it yet. And then the waters encompassed me into the soul, the depth closed me around about, the weeds are wrapped over my head. So it's all terrible, and he's deep, and it's horrible, and it really does sound like emo poetry, right? Okay. So I went down to the bottom of the mountains. Yeah, let's just go there. And then in verse 7, here it comes. When my soul fainted within me, so he's still awake, but his soul fainted, as in just like exhausted. I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came in unto thee, into thine holy temple. So he remembers the Lord, has a prayer. And then in verse 8, but I will sacrifice unto thee with a voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that which I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. So he remembers the promise he's made to the Lord, because he is a religious person. Remember, he is a man of faith. He accepted the call as a prophet and then legged it somewhere else, and this is why he's in this situation. So making bad decisions. So accepting that, I've got a commitment to the Lord, and then I'm going to make different decisions that put me in the opposite direction. Christ isn't going to just leave you go. He's going to continually try and help you get back and turn back to him. So what you might be experiencing as trial and worry, and you're like, it's just another thing. It's another bad thing happened. Maybe stop and think. Just think. Not always, because sometimes it's just trial. Sometimes it is just brought on by other people's circumstances and you get caught up in it. But really have a think about these decisions that have led you to this place. Were they going with what Christ wanted you to do? Or are they going against what he was counseling you to do? And sometimes you don't know, because you find out after the fact, and that's the learning process. That's the product development process, as we talk about. Just have a think about that, because, it might be. And then 10, the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land. So the fish is good and obedient, at least. Written poetically, Jonah prays for deliverance, yet still with a woe is me attitude. It's still a, everything's terrible, going down the garden to eat worms kind of attitude. Now I'm not putting down, if this was an actual situation, it's hard. It really does get hard. And I get that. I've been through that. I know that well. But your attitude can make all the difference, and the way you look at it makes a huge difference to how you handle it, how you manage it, how you survive it. Okay? So verse 7, when his soul fainted, he remembered the Lord, his kindness, and Jonah's faith became strong enough to accept Christ's will and the promise that Jonah had made to follow Christ, that salvation is in the Lord. He had made these covenant promises, just like the rest of us have made covenant promises at different places in our lives with God. Many of you out there that aren't Christian watching this, that's what we do. And I'm sure you've made promises in your life. Have you kept them? Have you not kept them? Are you a person who says, promise, I'll do that, and never follows through? Maybe you're one of them. I don't know. You could improve on that. But Jonah has enough integrity, at least, to remember that he's made a promise and he's going to follow through on it. So the fish vomits him up, and he continues on his journey to Nineveh, which is a while, because he's now quite away from there, being that he was on his way to Tarshish. So, I'm going to cross-reference this with Mormon 5:23, because Mormon, of all people, went through a heck of a lot with no one believing him and very little support from the people around him. Great wickedness, and he remained faithful. He is a great stalwart of faithfulness for us to look through in difficult circumstances. Him and Moroni both have known great loss, trial, battle, stress, all sorts of things, and still remained completely faithful and strong. And so when I'm struggling, those are two figures that I really turn to, especially Moroni, even though this is from Mormon. But he taught Moroni, so yay. It just, because I know what they've been through, we can read about that in the Book of Mormon. And, when I'm feeling like that, I can be like, well, I know Christ knows what I'm feeling like, but here's another human who lived a human life. And yeah, he might have been a prophet, but doesn't mean he had it any easier. He probably still had arthritis and battle scars and went hungry, and people hated on him, and he was alone. These people know. These two know. Here's some people that know and have great faith. So Mormon 5:23 references this. He says, "Know ye not that ye are in the hands of God?" They had great faith to know they were in the hands of God. Jonah was missing that. He had faith in God, but tiny little bit, enough to sort of be one of those tick box, I'm doing my ministering, I've been to church on a Sunday kind of thing. He wasn't really in. We'll get to the next one and we'll go back to where Ezekiel was swimming and Jonah just had his foot in, I'm a little bit, I'm kind of there, but, given any hard circumstance, I'm just going to fall away. And we've seen it a lot lately, so don't be that. Know that you're in God's hands. He's got your best welfare, and it can seem disastrous, and you might be lost in this cloud and fog of it's not going to get better. But you're in God's hands, and it will get better. And a lot of it will depend on, again, your attitude and how you face things, how you look at things, and your willingness to lean into Christ and to trust Him is going to make a huge difference in all the trials of your life. So keep that in mind. So Jonah 2, chapter 2, teaches us that all of it, the whole lot, is in God's hands. It's in Christ's hands. He's got us. We just got to trust Him. And that's the hard part. And we work on it every day. It's never perfect. It's never going to be. We have human frailties. He doesn't expect it to be. He just wants our effort in trusting Him. So give that more of a shot and maybe reframe some things. This last week I was talking to someone who said, "Oh, I'm in a rut." And I said, "No, you're not in a rut. You're in," what did I say? You're in constant stability or stable consistency. Stable consistency, that's what I said. You're not in a rut, you're in stable consistency. Because it was a reframe I used to use. I used to feel like I was in a rut with my job, with life. It was just all blah, 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 right? Go to church on Sunday, teach your class, go home, go to work, have Saturday off to do all the housework and the shopping. It was just, it felt like a rut. And I was like, no, okay, I need to reframe this. I'm going to call it stable consistency, because that's what it is. And there's actually a beauty to stability and consistency. There's less drama. You know what's happening. So there's actually quite a nice thing in there. So have a look at some of those attitudes you might have. And I'm not saying that they're bad. It's just you can get in there and start feeling that way. And those feelings are valid, but reframe it will help lift that mood. Definitely will. All right. Hang on. We're going to look at Jonah chapter 3. I'll see you there.